Hi, Simon. How are you? It's been way too long since we've done this.
I know, hasn't it? Sorry. I was just trying to stream it live to mine, and then I'm going to hide it because it's so distracting. I'm just going to concentrate on you. There we go. Hi, Dr. K. Great to see you. Yes, it's been a while, hasn't it?
Been
How
too
much has
long.
happened in that time?
So much. What's
Yeah.
happened at Exceptional Learners?
Oh, we've actually been flat out. We've been flat out. We've been doing a few webinars with large groups, a Macquarie area ADHD group, but I've quite frankly been just flat out with one-to-one coaching and family coaching as well. So yeah, it's going well.
Good.
But motivation today. We're going
Yes.
to try and stay on target today.
Well, motivation is a very broad topic, right? And it's something that's really important because everybody seems at some point in their life to struggle with motivation in one area or another. And it's not just related to education, right? It's related to getting up out of bed in the morning and cleaning the house. I mean, if there's a test happening or a deadline, it's obviously very easy to motivate yourself to clean your house.
Yeah.
Or it is for me.
The mother-in-law coming, that is always a good motivator too. But I suppose what I was thinking of was we're talking about those, I mean, we all have trouble with motivation from time to time, but we're talking about the kids who have it all the time. You know, I hear often, oh, it's not just ADHDers that suffer from that. We all suffer from that. Well, yes, we do, but ADHDers, particularly neurodiverse kids generally, suffer a lot more from that, more frequently and at a greater depth as well.
Well, and especially if, they're like, oh, but they should want to do this. Like there is that external motivator or the extrinsic motivation where, they get this as a reward in the end if they do it. Well, we actually know that doesn't always work. And for some, it's just the absolute reverse. It's not going to happen if I'm supposed to work towards a prize, right?
I often work with my kids and I say, you can't say can't. Yeah. Just not going to have it in one of our sessions. And I'd really like to get rid of the word should. But it's a great indicator to anxiety sometimes, which often accompanies that whole motivation thing. Motivation, people talk about procrastination and perfectionism, and that's the kind of area we're talking about. But sometimes anxiety can present as a lack of motivation or that lack of being able to initiate the task as well. So yes, it's a very interesting topic. And I think, as we've discussed before, it probably comes down to two different perspectives or understandings, maybe two sciences. I don't know. One, which I think is a behavioralist, so pre-2000, before neurology and what we've learned about the neurology of the brain, and the type of bottom-up strategy that's put forward by Dr. Mona Delahawk and by Dr. Ross Green, starting where the kids are at and understanding and building from their strengths and then building them up to the expectations. So I believe one is a more traditional perspective on motivation, which is top down, you will do it because might is right. And the other one is, okay, this is where you need to be, where you're at, where are you at? Let's work out collaboratively how to get you there.
Well, and I mean, I think in every conversation is that children do well when they can. Humans do well when they can, right?
But the first time I heard that, I went, you're kidding, right? Yeah. I did. I can remember hearing that going, what are you talking about? No, they won't. They're rotten little children.
Yeah, and it's removing those layers that we have. And it's like, oh, it's ADHD, it's only HD. Well, there's so many things that can come to play, especially that anxiety piece.
Yes.
right? And that OCD piece that sometimes we have, or the
Uh,
excessive compulsive, and the need to do things in certain ways in certain orders to try and compensate for the ADHD,
yep. Yep.
right? Or that whatever the neurodiversity is, this motivation piece comes into play, to be such a huge problem.
Mm,
And they may really, really want to do it, but their anxieties and their insecurities are that huge roadblock that make it just so impossible. And, the overwhelmingness.
mm, mm,
And in September, way back when, you and I had a talk on task initiation.
mm.
And it's on the on the Garforth Education YouTube channel. I think it's on the Exceptional Learners YouTube channel.
Could be.
And we
Mm.
go through a list of ways that we can help get kids to just start. And those are some of the things that you talk about in the motivation pit. So why don't you take a moment and just kind of describe how you got to the motivation pit?
Ah, right. Okay. Well, the learning I did. I think it was. Oh gosh, there was. I've just forgotten his name now. Huntington had developed. Steve, I think, developed the learning pit as an understanding about what you do when you get stuck. It's part of now of a part of a growth mindset and um, uh, tool. So I adapted that and just did my own version. And then I'm pretty sure I've got them just here. Let me see if I can share them. I might get you to enable me to share, and I'll be able to share them for you, if that's okay. I can't share at the moment. I need to get you to.
There you go. You're now
Oh,
covered.
look at that. Fantastic. And I adapted this or his work to the motivation pit. And basically you're traveling along, all of a sudden you get stuck, you fall down, and there are ways to climb out until you can celebrate it, and you should celebrate getting out. It's kind of inspired by The Simpsons, I think, and that little scene where they always dig underground and they always miss everything. But a bit of self-talk, it can be hard at times to do what we know we need to do. And I know our funky kids too can just feel bad about, they know what they need to do, but they just can't get there. So I just talk to them about some of the things that you can do to climb the ladder to get out. And I put this up because, sometimes it's not an issue. And sometimes it is. It can be in certain subjects and at different times. And often we forget to explicitly teach this, or some of our funky kids haven't been paying attention when we've explicitly taught this, so they need a bit of a reminder. So this is just a quick reference point for teachers and or for kids and parents to go, oh, hang on, what can we do? But I'm all about empowering kids to be self-advocates, to be able to take control of the situation and, I put forward the idea that ADHD is an understanding, not an excuse. It's about building the brakes on the Ferrari. So you got control of that incredible brain. So I do like them to try and work through some of these things. So that's how it came about. And, as you and I know, sometimes when I go through my notes and my client notes, when I've drawn or done something about 6 or 7 times, I think, you know what, I should make that into a proper drawing and a proper infograph and get that out. Because if I've drawn it 4 or 5 times, I'm sure there's lots of people who also need it too.
Yes, of course.
Mm.
Let's go through these rungs.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, I suppose what you need to probably understand too is my understanding of motivation. Our motivation as educators when I went to university was all about the behavioralists, and being able to encourage a particular type of behavior through positive reinforcers and negative reinforcers. Now, Originally, when you look at the research, and Pavlov, his training was just about dogs, and how to train dogs. It was the educationalists who took that on board and said, oh, let's apply this to children. You remember a long time ago, people didn't have the same view of children as we do now. And honestly, wow, yeah, it was very different. So anyway, a worldview.
Let's just pause for a second there.
Yes.
Okay. Because you mentioned positive reinforcements and negative reinforcements. And I just think it's important to be clear that positive doesn't mean it's good and negative means it's bad. Positive reinforcements means it's something that's added. So that could be something that helps the behavior occur again or makes it so it's not going to occur, right? And negative means that we're taking something away from the situation.
And it's creating an environment conducive to it. But, and that's probably what we've grown up with, a more traditional model. And whilst that still may work for 95% of the population, it doesn't work for our divergent, neurodivergent population. So
especially those on the autism spectrum whose reasons for doing things aren't necessarily in line with others who have the same values, right? So if it doesn't matter to me what you think or how you respond to something, or I don't consider that as a positive thing or something that I enjoy, like eye contact and a smile, maybe all you need for one kid, but for another kid, that's discouraging them, telling, okay, I better not do that again. Otherwise, I'm going to get this discomfort.
Absolutely. And again, we're talking about things that adults or teachers thought would encourage children, not what the children actually feel as being encouraging. Again, it was all that top down. This is the behavior we want. So we're going to give you a sticker when we think you've jumped through that hoop well enough. Whereas a collaborative approach, you don't even need that because kids will do well if they can. It's a mindset that really changes things. Anyway, this is what I do with the kids. Build a new habit from a routine. Routines are just so important to establish. And I find lots of ADHDs hate routines, but by golly, by crikey, they need them. I need them too.
Those new habits take at least 21 days to form.
I heard that yesterday in a book I was listening to on the road, and I'd always believed it was 21, but apparently the research lately said 60 days.
Oh, really?
Oh, no. Shh, don't tell the kids. Tell them it's 21, everyone, okay? Let's stick to 21 and we'll have a chance.
Scaffold it for the rest of the 39.
Yeah. Oh, look, and it depends on that motivation too. And that's one of the things I like to give to kids too. I said, look, sometimes, and I must also say that motivation is really only a problem when kids don't want to do something. And that's what we're talking about today. The kids that want to do something and are interested, if they find it creative, if they find it fun, if there is personal meaning or if there's a personal challenge there, then they're going to be engaged, and you're probably going to battle with hyperfocus, but we're talking about the things that we don't want to do. And we all have those things that we don't want to do, but we know we have to do. And sometimes sharing your stories as a parent or as a teacher can be really handy to realize that we kind of all go through those things. I remember talking about, when I was training to be an ultra endurance athlete, I didn't want to get out of bed at 4:30 in the morning and run around in sub-zero temperatures before dawn, but I did want to look good for the photographs at the end of the race. So you got to find some motivation that works for you too. But yeah, habits and routines are just so important. And I often say to kids of an afternoon, and to parents, go out, eat, drink, do what you need to do. then sit down and get ready and get organized. And that's when you kick in all these things, perhaps even if you don't need them to, so that when you really do need them, they work. So yeah, a routine I think is handy, but yeah, go for a walk, surf, ride, run, or swim. We know that, I used to say be involved in sport, but really it's just movement. If you can, get out all the frustration of the day, center yourself, in the water, in the surf, or doing whatever that is. It also releases all those positive chemicals in your brain, or the endorphins, which are going to be staying in your body for a while. And often I say to kids, look, if you're sitting there and you just can't get started, do some sit-ups, go jump on a trampoline, do some curls, do some skipping, do 5 or 10 minutes, because you'll get a release of endorphins. And those endorphins in your mind, they're like a wave, and we're going to catch that wave and we're going to ride it and we're going to use it for a little while just to get started. So often I think there's a really important part of getting motivated to do something is do something which brings you joy or brings you cardio up, so that you can reset your mind. Watch motivational YouTube.
It's A, not several, right?
A, yes. Oh, and I came up with a tip for this. I call it my Hansel and Gretel. My Hansel and Gretel strategy. Before you watch some YouTube or before you do some research, set an alarm for 10 or 15 minutes. And when that goes off, it should pull you back to the present moment where you need to make a choice. Have I done what I needed to do, or do I need another 15 minutes to do it? It's just like letting those crumbs. It tries to bring you back to that moment and that decision. I've had mixed results with that, and some of these things are going to work for some people, some aren't. There are people who just want to go and Minecraft for an hour after school, and I totally get that. In a world that is so completely out of their control, to be able to exert some control in their world where they're having fun or over this particular thing, then that's what they need. So some things are going to work for some kids. Yeah. Keep going.
Yeah.
Play a playlist of upbeat music. It's also good for getting out of bed as well, or calm or quiet music. But sometimes, it works. Sometimes it doesn't. Change locations. I often find this a bit of a struggle with teenagers. They love to work in their bedrooms. However, when they're in their bedrooms and they're sitting at their computer and they know they've got this assignment to do, they've got the opportunity to be distracted and to kind of perhaps even ruminate and to continue to avoid and procrastinate. But by moving downstairs into a more, where there's more family and more things around you, it can have two effects. One, the distraction is a bit like the alarm to bring you back to what you should be doing. And two, you're a bit worried about accountability and being seen. So you tend to do it. One of the things I do say to kids, though, is that, and it's all in the brain research too, and 12 rules for the brain, I think, is that your brain associates your bed with sleep and your bedroom with sleep. And you need to break that. So you need to set up a study area. And that goes back to the point about routine. If you're kind of regularly going to your study area or the table where you sit, your brain's going, oh, okay, it's time to get going. And that routine helps your brain get ready to engage in what you need to do. So a change of location can be handy. I know that some of my senior students in year 11 and 12, they like to go to a library and just work. And if they make the effort to go to the library, that helps them engage. But find something that works for you. If you probably want to study with a friend, you should study but have a plan ready. Mm-hmm. Don't go in without a plan and an objective. It's got to be routine and it's got to be structured. And that's why, ask a friend and divide and conquer the workload. Look, I don't see a problem with this. And people go, oh, but isn't that kind of cheating? If you're facing serious motivation, and you and I both know what a lack of serious motivation is like, I think it's about picking your battles. Yeah. And looking for the silver lining. Your child is at home. Your child is trying to engage. They've got everything that they need. You know, and they know there's something due. And sometimes, I hate to say it, but that there's a whole lot of other things that could be going wrong in their lives. So perhaps just having a friend to help is not such a bad thing. I know in some schools they refuse to show kids examples of what an A, B, or C kind of assignment or assessment or an essay looks like. And particularly for our neurodivergent thinkers who tend to be particularly creative, being able to see a final product is all they need to start. Oh, this is what's expected of me. Oh, okay.
Well, and I also think it's important to note that sometimes that just gets, that spark going and things rolling. I know when I was in university and some of my computer science and my upper level math courses, there was a group of us that got together and talked about the problems and how we were going to approach solving it. And we weren't copying each other's work, but we were just jumping off of each other's sparks and then knowing where to go from there. And then we were all able to go home, finish the assignment, and have it be so much more effective.
Yeah, it's finding what works for you and knowing that, sometimes it'll work and sometimes it won't. And sometimes you've got to try some other ideas. But yeah, I was at a school the other day, and on the next page, they provided all the scaffolding, and they had wonderful sentence starters. Like, this is how you start the sentence on this paragraph. I was going, this is gold. I love this. It's a real credit to teachers and schools who go, it's not cheating, it's not too much support. The kids are getting what they need to succeed. It's starting with that bottom-up approach. This is just what they need to get started. And again, once they use that, it doesn't mean they're always going to rely on it.
No.
These kids will do well if they can, and they'll probably break away from that scaffolding before they're actually ready for it.
Well, and the other thing is, for that example with the sentence starters, why not give that to every student in the class, right?
Yeah.
It's not, if it's once upon a time, today at, I don't know, the zoo, or just give them a couple of different options that really have nothing to do with the content, right? It gets just that ball rolling, and then things starts to flow, especially as they're doing a writing assignment.
Well, I don't know. I might have to actually, Dr. K, disagree with you. I think this might be the first time ever.
Yeah.
If the kids don't need it, then I don't think they need it.
No, if they don't need it, they don't need it. They won't use it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Not just have it there so if the kid turns a page and needs it, but then the kids who don't need it don't use it. I mean, it's the same as saying, well, not everybody in the class is going to have this identified that they need this. Yes. But for the kids that it's going to help, it's there, and it's going to help, all those kids. I mean, it's really not giving them any answers at all. It's giving them the first 3 or 4 words of a sentence to give a paragraph answer.
Yep.
Who cares if the first 3 or 4 words are there, right?
We're aligned again. I'm all happy. The world and the universe is okay. That's great. No, you're spot on. And any good educator knows that you're not going to make a decision on a grade based on one paper or one assignment. Each one has a weighting. So that over the course of that time, the data that you get from that child, or the feedback you get from that child, is going to be to help you inform you about the decisions you need to make about, you know, that child's grades and their abilities. Yeah. So, yeah, pick your battles. Give them what they need.
Yes.
Be bold.
And think about what worked last time, right?
Sorry, what was that?
You have to think what worked last time.
Yeah. Oh, well, I come down to two things, actions and thinking. Change the action and do something like get up and move and physically change locations and etc. But the thinking is just important. Oh, what worked last time? Yeah, exactly. How did I get started? But also, it reminds kids that they have overcome this before and they can overcome it again, and they'll continue to overcome it. And I love to say to kids, you know, all things are hard at first, but each time we stretch and we get ourselves to engage, that the brain is a bit like a muscle, and every other time it's a bit easier to engage. It's, you know, we come up against it, but every time we kind of run up that hill, it becomes easier and easier. And every time we get started on something, it becomes easier and easier for us to do. So I like to remind them of that. Start ugly, start badly, but just start. That's directly from How to ADHD. Oh, I've forgotten her name. I haven't mentioned her for a while. You know, forgotten. Oh, dear. You know.
But I'm horrible with names.
It'll come to me now, and I'm sure probably someone will mention it anyway. How to ADHD. And Dr. And Rick Green, they often talk about, you know, just start ugly, just get going, and almost trick yourself into starting. Just say, look, just write a sentence, you know, because that's almost where the fear comes in, and the anxiety come in. It's not the actual fear of doing it. Sorry, it's the fear of actually getting started. Yeah. It's not actually starting that is the actual issue, which is holding them back. It might be a fear of failure. It might be a fear of being exposed or not belonging, or even doing better than everybody else. You don't want to do an assignment that's so much better than everybody else's because you don't want to stand out, especially as a teenager. So all those, we haven't really started talking about anxiety, but we could go on about it for quite a while.
Well,
and perhaps
I was going to say that's where the anxiety comes in, and it's something that we don't pay attention to. We're definitely getting a lot better at realizing it, but even when it comes to test anxiety, right, and performance anxiety, and especially in a world where there's all this social media and TikTok and Twitter, and you know, pictures are everywhere, you know, that performance anxiety and all those fears are so real.
Yeah, look, and they are. Look, it's tough being a kid at the moment. It truly is, because their emotional bucket is so full, you know, and that comparison is so full and so real, that, you know, it's not just this paper or their assignment or this task they can't engage with. It's the fear of everything else that go with it too. But yeah, that whole anxiety thing and getting people to self-talk, I think, is just really important. That's why, you know, just start ugly, start badly, just start is really important. Having a mantra to say to yourself, or even write down before you get started.
I brought mine.
Tell me, do you think about it? Do you write down that? Because I think there's something very therapeutic about actually writing it out.
Yeah, so as some of you may or may not know, I am severely dyslexic and had a really hard road to get where I am today. And when I was still in high school, that's when these tiles were becoming, everybody had them.
Yeah.
And my mom found this one for me, and it says, "Success is the best revenge." And when I was younger, one of my teachers was very abusive to me and said that I'd never graduate high school. or become anything. And I just wanted to prove her wrong. And I think I did.
Isn't that,
So
is,
it's
well,
always in my mind.
you are helping
This is the
so
best
many people.
revenge.
Look at, I am, I can remember in high school when, my spelling, dyslexia, handwriting, and attitude was all out of control. And I can remember being caned by this, my tech teacher, for answering back to him and standing up to him. And it was at that moment I thought, you know what? I'm going to become a teacher and I'm going to show you how to do it. Isn't it funny that it can almost define us sometimes too? But it's that self-talk.
Motivator, right?
Yeah, I mean, if it's that self-talk that we can be so bad. I mean, you and I, and many of us, could turn that around. We may have had somebody in our lives that turned it around, or we had an example, something just clicked for us, or we had a tile that turned us around just at the right time, at the right place. But I find lots of kids just don't have that, and they need that that belief. And of course, we know that, was it by the age of 12, they have 20,000 more negatives. Wow. If you keep on hearing those negatives and thinking those negatives, that's what you grow towards. And that's what I ask kids and tell kids, quite frankly, that if you keep on thinking about negative thoughts about yourself, that's what you grow towards. So you need to acknowledge the negative self-talk. Go, you know what? Just no. Okay. No. It's I'm going to replace it with something more constructive. And that's why I think looking at a vision board to remind kids and is really very important. And it doesn't matter if they don't have an idea of what they want to do in life. It's okay, because it changes. They may just think hiking around is what they need to do, and that's what they want to do in their life. Fine. Use it as a goal. It doesn't mean it's going to be their goal forever. I mean, they might just want to do 3D art and animes and think that there's a life in that. Let them think that and let them have that goal. They may end up doing it. They may end up going in a different way. That's life, but it's a goal, and I think if those top-down people might say, oh, well, that's not realistic. That's, but you've got to go to where the kids are at and go, okay, yeah, that's a goal. Fantastic. They've got a goal. That's the important thing. And sometimes having that front and center can help get you there too. Jessica McCabe.
Right.
Thank you, Fiona. Jessica McCabe.
And the other thing that we need to remember, especially when we're talking about these vision boards and goals and, oh, well, that's not a real profession. Well, let me tell you how many professions today were not around when I graduated high school.
And how many more are going to will be created in the next few years too, that
exactly
don't exist at the moment. Yeah.
And think how everything's changed in the past, 15 months or however long COVID's really been affecting us all.
Yeah.
So, I mean, so much has changed in how we do things, why we do things, where we do things. The possibilities are endless for how their adult life is going to look.
And look, it's changed so much. I mean, I'm not too sure what's happened around. You're in Ontario, aren't you?
No, I'm British Columbia.
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Too many Canadians.
Wrong side of the country.
Lots of people have left Sydney and moving it to regional areas. They're just getting out because they just don't need to. In fact, they've realised that the CBD in Sydney is dying because the people who would grab a coffee or a sandwich on the way or buy a quick gift for somebody's birthday, or they're just not doing that. So there's all this encouraging of people, get people to come back into the city. But meanwhile, prices and real estate prices around the outskirts of Sydney are going nuts. Now, we couldn't have predicted that 2-3 years ago. but it means there's many more opportunities and different types of opportunities around. I mean, Zoom, who knew of Zoom 2 years ago?
Yeah, not me.
And I can't keep up with the changes in Zoom.
Yeah.
Anyway, motivation. So that's how it came about. I tried to put in just one place a few things that we think about and should actually do to try and help get motivated. But I suppose my golden rule for kids is to try and challenge them to find the fun, find the creative aspect, find the personal meaning or personal challenge to engage in it. Now, do we have any questions there, Dr. Kay?
I'm just looking. Fiona saying Linda Gray, Mona, Jessica McCabe, and that's what I'm.
She's being my short-term memory, long-term memory.
Yeah, that's what I am seeing on my end. But I know we do get a lot of views after the fact too.
Yeah.
So if you're watching this after we were actually live, do feel free to put it in the comments. Simon or I will get back to you. Motivation is a huge thing, and it's understanding, how our children, our teens, our adults are struggling, right? And even, it's not really where our focus has been at this conversation, but looking at the negative behaviors that we're seeing and we're wanting to stop. Trying to understand the motivation for why that behavior is happening, right? So in class, if a kid's acting out, why? What is happening when they are acting out? Is it the assignment too hard and they can't understand, they can't read, they don't know where to start? They'd rather be the bad kid than the dumb kid?
Dr. Kay, we could do a course on this. I'm absolutely sure we can do a course. Hey, do you know what I'm excited about? The captioning went up today.
Oh, awesome.
Wow. Anyway, just saying that. Yeah, look, we really could. There's a lot more about anxiety and anxiety's role in procrastination and perfectionism, and how to actually tackle that. There are things that you can do to actually address those things. I suppose the hardest thing about motivation when I work with kids is that they've actually got to accept there's an issue. And sometimes, when I say to parents, sometimes perhaps you need to let the kids fail safely while they're at home with you, so that you can pick up the pieces afterwards. But it's tricky because that whole metacognition, all the executive, to me, the motivation is a combination of all the executive functions. When you get those aligned, that's when you can get the motivation to actually get things done. But unless we build their executive functioning, then it's very hard to get that motivation that we need, that resilience to keep on going. But I think every step towards that's handy. Oh, I can see you dying to say something.
Well, and with executive functioning, there's the chicken or the egg thing that happens. Nature, nurture. Well, is it something that the parent struggles with, right?
Oh, yeah.
And how does it work for them? And I know with clients that I've worked with, they're very like, okay, well, you can fix it, you can handle it. But then it's like, well, there's also the responsibility on you as the parent to consider what's happening in those situations and whether it's something that you're requiring, across all areas of their life or just in this certain area. And what's it like when they're not getting the support from a professional outside? I mean, one thing that I can think of as some clients, when I was more doing the tutoring aspect, would be, okay, so when you're here, that's the time they get their homework done. And the other times it's just me, having fun, they can watch TV, they have a lot of freedom, right? It's like, no, we need to create this structure so they don't need that external person or me there to be forcing this happen in the time that we have together and then have everything fall apart, because that's not going to teach them the skills.
Yeah. Yep, yep, absolutely right. It's about empowering them, and that takes longer sometimes to really
Yeah, and
embed
having
it.
those,
Mm.
um, oh, what are they called right now? I'm drawing a blank.
Hang on,
Uh,
maybe I need another coffee, but you're at what 4 p.m., 5 p.m. now. You haven't got any excuse.
I can't have coffee anyways, it gives me migraines. Um,
I'll have
the um, the visual planners or the graphic organizers that help them, give them that starting place, because sometimes, especially for our kiddos that are neurodiverse, just that big whole task is too much for them to start with.
Yep.
And if you use graphic organizers to have that extra step, I know all individuals don't require this to just get started, but having that graphic organizer saying, this is how I'm going to format my paragraph, these are the supporting sentences that I'm going to have, these
Yep.
are the different ideas, mind mapping, putting it all out there just takes that huge level of anxiety. I know bullet journalize or bullet journaling makes things a lot easier for me, because and I'm going to be able to see what the small tasks that I need to do are, right? Instead of saying, oh, I have to create a course on this. I'm like, okay, well, let's figure out how that course is going to look.
Yep.
And then let's figure out what's going to be in the lessons. And then am I going to have downloads or that sort of thing? Like it's making it so it's manageable. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time, right? Those small
Using
mouthfuls.
that a lot as well lately.
You know what? I even got myself a new bullet journal the other day.
Yeah.
And it's actually called The Simple Elephant.
Oh, wow, look at that. Love
Yeah.
it. Mm.
And normally I'd like create it from scratch, but I don't have the time to do that anymore. And this has it laid out for me.
Nice.
So it's taking those one bite at a time, right?
Yeah, and just one bite. That breaking up is just so very important too. It needs to be explicitly taught, and sometimes that's all they need too. I have a young student who's given the job of writing up a pop-up store, and just the first step was, well, buddy, go look up what a pop store is. Look up images, and get an idea. Build the kind of, what did they used to say when it was reading? You just build your awareness, or you roam the known. You try and build an understanding of what it is. And
PWL charts, right? The know, wonder, learn, or
yeah.
even looking at Pinterest or
Oh
Googling it,
my
right?
goodness, of course, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Getting ideas there. I mean, I know some nights when I have no motivation for making dinner, I'll put 3 ingredients from the fridge into Pinterest, and then there's my motivation.
No,
No one
I've
did
got,
that before,
I've
right?
got a real motivation for not cooking lately. I got to tell you. I really do need to address that. That's a ripper. And why not use technology to help you too?
Well, and
Mm,
it works. It's like, okay, I have these things that I need to use in the fridge. What am I going to make?
yeah. Yeah. Okay. There's lots of strategies that people use.
Yeah.
I think we're going to have to wind it up, Dr. K. I know we could go on for so long, but I hope today people have got some ideas and a bit of an understanding and insight into motivation. There are things that you can do to take action, to shift your mood. There are things that you can think. You're coming up with some self-talk with kids. What advice would you give your younger self? I love that way to try and build up a mantra or a saying. And, have that somewhere in your room where you've changed locations, and that's what you see, and that reminds you, kind of sets everything up. But, it's important to have a balance of things. It's important to have connection with family, and friends, and with nature. It's important to have some type of mindfulness, whether that be meditation or coloring in, or perhaps karate or martial arts. It's important to have movement somewhere in your life. It's important to be learning. It doesn't have to be school. It could be guitar or drums or something that you're interested in. Great diet with omega-3s, a plan, a strategy, all those things about a healthy brain diet that will help with motivation as well. Yeah.
Yes, well, and one thing that I encourage teachers and some of my students is to create little schema cards that they have at their desks, because a lot of students struggle when they get an assignment. It's so overwhelming for them.
Mm.
And just having that card that they can refer to, say, okay, I get to this at my desk, I put my name at the top of the paper, I get my pencil, this is where it is. This is how I'm going to approach the assignment. If I have a question, this is how I'm going to handle it. And just having that visual reminder that they can refer to can just help smooth out the process and take the anxiety away so that they can have the motivation to start.
Reduces the cognitive load so they
Exactly.
can focus on the task at hand.
Helps.
Reduces the anxiety because they can just go to their sheet. Now, I like the kids, I love that idea, but, and this is one of the reasons why I had that ladder on the motivation chart. So if they're stuck, they open up their book and they go through it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, going to leave you to it.
All
Wonderful.
right. Thank you so much, everyone. Remember to follow me, Dr. Kathryn Garforth, at Garforth Education, and Simon da Roza at Exceptional Learners.